I think one of the most touching lines in the book, and this is a spoiler alert, but to anyone who's watching this before reading the book, but at one point in this friendship, your first baby died very close to term, and this is when you were living apart.
Yeah,
I mean, you weren't really that close geographically, and I don't even remember which one of you said this, but you had worried that this grief over Claire would be too much for the friendship to bear. Do you think that the fact that you had been writing letters up to this point enabled you to kind of navigate these waters of grief? Because grief is crushing. It ends marriages, it ends so many things. Do you mind talking about that just for a moment?
Well, I just remember that was one of the many devastations, was feeling like this friendship, which had become so dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to really convey. It wasn't just the friendship, but I felt like she was and our letters were my lifeline to God. Like, I felt like that is how I knew God. That was how I prayed, was through this. And it wasn't just that it was a tragedy, but she was pregnant with, and she had her baby right before mine, and we had spent so much time imagining our lives with our daughters.
6 months.
And to have her going forward with that life and me not, it just seems impossible to both of us.
I think if we hadn't had those letters, if we hadn't been writing letters up to that point, I don't know if we would have. I don't know what would have happened. It's impossible to imagine us without our letters, but it was the letters that allowed us to continue. I mean, and I almost feel like that was one of the great gifts of the project that we undertook, is that in a way it prepared us to face that together instead of that being the thing that crushed us.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, so many people try to do nice things for you when something terrible happens, but I think the thing that I found most profoundly helpful was the feeling that somebody was weeping with me. And and just being with me, like in that deep way. And somebody can sit with you and hold your hand, but to have that kind of communion that we could have through letters, and feeling like, I don't know, that it was such a she was so profoundly sad as well. And I mean, I'm sorry she had to go through that, but I don't know, just to be able to see that grief written out and lived through with me was incredible.
When I was reading through that section of the book, I often would have to go back and figure out who's writing now, because both of you, the grief was so
intense,
so apparent and so specific, and I think, wait, oh no, this is Jess writing now.
Right.
So that's a great example of just how deep the communion was, that you're both really, you are pilgrims on this journey, walking side by side.